What if India had conquered the world? Would civilization thrive? Or would everything fall apart? It's a provocative question, one that might sound humorous at first, but underneath lies a fascinating exploration of geopolitics, culture, infrastructure, and historical patterns. In today's video, we're diving into an alternate reality where India, with all its diversity, contradictions, and ancient legacy, becomes the dominant global power. Would bureaucracy and overpopulation spiral out of control? Or would ancient wisdom, tech innovation, and a unique social fabric reshape the world in unexpected ways? Let's find out. Imagine a world map colored not by the colonial empires of Europe, but by the saffron, white, and green of the Indian flag. What if, instead of Britain, it was India that spread its influence across continents, politically, economically, and culturally? This is not just a wild thought experiment, but a way to explore the global implications of different civilizational values, governance models, and demographic realities. India, with its vast population, millennia-old traditions, and rapidly growing technological base, represents one of the most complex societies on Earth. But how would those complexities translate on a planetary scale? In this video, we open the door to an alternate history, one where India didn't just rise, but ruled. The goal isn't to praise or criticize, but to think critically and creatively about what global leadership might look like under a different banner. To ask whether India could have conquered the world is to ask whether its history ever allowed for such a possibility. While India is often seen as a spiritual and cultural powerhouse, it has also been home to some of the most formidable empires in human history, from the Maurya Empire under Ashoka, which ruled vast swaths of South Asia, to the Gupta Empire, known for its advancements in science, mathematics, and governance. Yet, unlike Rome or Britain, Indian empires rarely projected sustained power beyond their immediate region. There were moments of tremendous potential. Under rulers like Chandragupta, Maurya, or Akbar the Great, India had the military, economic, and cultural clout to expand further, but geographic barriers, internal divisions, and a tradition of decentralized governance often limited imperial ambitions. Furthermore, Indian civilization historically emphasized philosophical inquiry, trade, and spiritual life over expansionist conquest. Still, had certain historical variables aligned stronger naval power, political unity, or more aggressive imperial vision, India might have rivaled the colonial ambitions of Europe or the Mongol sweep across Asia. So while the subcontinent had the ingredients of global power, it lacked the unifying force and timing to fully act on them. One of the most defining and often criticized features of modern India is its vast and intricate bureaucracy. Rooted in colonial administrative systems and layered with post-independence reforms, Indian bureaucracy is known for its complexity, slow decision-making, and obsession with procedure. Now imagine this system scaled globally. If India ruled the world, the spread of its bureaucratic style could lead to a planet where processes are heavily regulated, documentation is endless, and approvals move at a glacial pace. Daily life might be governed by stacks of forms, signatures, and stamps. Even for the simplest tasks, innovation and efficiency could suffer under the weight of administrative inertia. On the other hand, such a system might also bring a form of predictable order. The Indian bureaucracy, for all its flaws, has managed to keep one of the world's most populous and diverse nations functioning, which is no small feat. Globally applied, it might enforce accountability, standardization, and a strong civil service ethos, but the danger would lie in rigidity, corruption, and a universal culture of delay. A world run by Indian bureaucracy might be stable but painfully slow, and perhaps stifling for ambition, risk-taking, and swift decision-making. India is home to over 1.4 billion people, making it the most populous country on Earth. Its demographic model is marked by dense urban centers, strained infrastructure, vast rural populations, and a constant race to meet basic needs. Now imagine that model applied to the entire world. Cities everywhere might resemble Mumbai or Delhi, vibrant, energetic, but overcrowded, with traffic jams stretching for miles and housing shortages becoming the norm. Public services could be overwhelmed, with education, healthcare, and sanitation systems struggling to keep up with demand. Environmental pressure would likely intensify as the global footprint of a high-density human population pushes ecosystems to their limits. Clean water, food security, and air quality could become even more pressing global concerns. However, India's demographic structure also comes with certain advantages: a young population, a vast labor force, and an entrepreneurial spirit born from necessity. If managed well, this could lead to a surge in global productivity and innovation. But without significant planning and infrastructure, the sheer scale of population could tip the balance toward chaos, where competition for resources escalates, inequality deepens, and the quality of life suffers. The world might adapt, but it would be under constant pressure to keep pace with its people. If India ruled the world, its dominant spiritual and philosophical traditions, Hinduism and Buddhism, could deeply influence global values, ethics, and daily life. Unlike many Western ideologies rooted in individualism and material progress, these traditions emphasize interconnectedness, the impermanence of life, and the pursuit of inner balance over external conquest. In such a world, concepts like karma, dharma, and meditation might become universal norms rather than niche practices. Education systems could prioritize spiritual development alongside academic learning, while societal values might shift toward humility, non-violence, and a respect for all living beings. The idea of self-realization could replace the drive for constant consumption or competition. Nature might be viewed not as a resource to exploit, but as a sacred presence to coexist with, potentially fostering a more sustainable planet. However, a global adoption of these values wouldn't be without challenges. The caste system, still linked in some ways to Hindu tradition, might raise serious ethical debates if allowed to influence global structures. And the more abstract, cyclical view of time found in these philosophies could clash with the linear, goal-oriented mindset of existing global powers. Still, such a cultural shift might inspire a world that is more introspective, more tolerant, and more focused on inner peace than endless progress. One of the most controversial aspects of Indian society is the caste system, a deeply entrenched social hierarchy that has historically dictated one's occupation, status, and social mobility. Though officially outlawed, its effects still linger in many parts of India, influencing marriage, education, and access to opportunity. If India were to rule the world, the question arises, would this system, or systems inspired by it, become a global norm? A global caste-like structure could lead to a more rigid and institutionalized form of inequality. Social mobility might be restricted not just by wealth or education, but by inherited status. People could be sorted into predetermined societal roles based on ancestry, with limited ability to break free from those labels. This could create deep divisions and long-lasting resentment, particularly in societies that value egalitarianism and meritocracy. On the other hand, some defenders of traditional caste structures argue that they once functioned as a form of division of labor rather than oppression. In a modern context, this argument would likely collapse under the weight of human rights concerns and global pressure for equality. The widespread adoption of caste-based hierarchy would likely provoke resistance, protests, and ethical backlash, especially in regions with strong democratic traditions. In short, if the caste system were globalized, the world could become more stratified, less inclusive, and more resistant to social change. It would be a fundamental test of whether ancient social frameworks can or should survive in a modern, interconnected world. Imagine a world where the technological epicenters are not Silicon Valley or Shenzhen, but Bengaluru, Mumbai, and Hyderabad. Instead of Google, Apple, and Amazon leading the charge, global innovation is driven by Indian tech giants like Infosys, Tata, and Wipro. The focus of technological development might shift significantly, shaped by India's unique blend of constraints, ambitions, and cultural perspectives. Indian tech firms have traditionally excelled in software services, back-end systems, and cost-effective solutions rather than flashy consumer products. A world run by these companies might emphasize practicality, frugality, and scalable infrastructure. Technology would likely be geared towards solving real-world problems in education, healthcare, and rural development, areas where India has had to innovate out of necessity. Low-cost smartphones, digital payment systems like UPI, and government tech platforms might become the global standard. However, the emphasis on service-oriented ID could also mean less focus on breakthrough hardware, luxury design, or moonshot innovation. The sleek, design-first ethos of Apple might give way to a functionality-first approach. Data protection and privacy might be seen differently, shaped by India's state-led digital infrastructure and surveillance policies. Still, the rise of Indian tech giants on the global stage could democratize innovation, making technology more accessible to developing nations and shifting the tech narrative from elitism to inclusion. The digital future might be less about owning the latest gadget and more about building systems that serve the greatest number of people. If India became the dominant global power, it's easy to imagine Bollywood taking center stage as the world's leading entertainment industry, replacing Hollywood's long-held cultural dominance. Bollywood, known for its vibrant colors, dramatic storytelling, elaborate song and dance sequences, and emotional narratives, would likely reshape global tastes and media consumption habits. Movies might become longer, blending genres in ways unfamiliar to Western audiences, with a strong emphasis on music, family themes, and cultural traditions. Global cinema could embrace more melodrama and spectacle, reflecting India's diverse languages and regional styles. Bollywood's storytelling often balances modernity with tradition, which could create an entertainment landscape where cultural heritage remains a central theme. The rise of Bollywood would also influence fashion, music, and dance worldwide, spreading Indian styles and aesthetics to every corner of the globe. Celebrities from India might become the most recognized faces internationally, shaping social trends and public discourse. However, this shift could challenge current norms around storytelling, pacing, and film production. Audiences accustomed to Hollywood's special effects-driven blockbusters might need time to adjust to Bollywood's unique rhythm and narrative style. Nonetheless, an Indian-led global entertainment industry would likely celebrate diversity, community, and emotional depth in ways that redefine popular culture for generations. If India ruled the world, its cuisine renowned for bold spices, complex flavors, and regional variety would likely become a dominant global culinary force. Indian food, with its rich use of turmeric, cumin, chili, and countless other spices, could unite people across cultures through shared taste experiences. Food has always been a powerful cultural bridge, and Indian cuisine's emphasis on communal eating and vibrant celebrations might foster new traditions of hospitality and connection worldwide. However, the rise of curry as a global staple might also provoke cultural clashes. Food preferences are deeply tied to identity, and not everyone might embrace the intense flavors or dietary customs like vegetarianism and religious food taboos. Some might resist or modify dishes to suit local palates, leading to fusion cuisines, but also potential debates about authenticity. Moreover, the global demand for Indian spices could transform agriculture, trade, and economies, placing India at the center of a vast culinary network. This could empower farmers and producers, but also raise questions about sustainability and equitable trade. In essence, curry diplomacy could become a flavorful form of soft power, a way to spread culture and influence through shared meals, celebrations, and taste. Whether this leads to global unity or culinary rivalry, Indian cuisine's takeover would certainly leave a lasting mark on how the world eats and connects. If India ruled the world, the environmental challenges and urban planning strategies of a global Indian empire would become critical factors shaping the planet's future. India already faces immense environmental pressures: air pollution, water scarcity, deforestation, and the impacts of climate change, all exacerbated by rapid urbanization and population growth. Scaling these challenges globally could lead to chaotic outcomes if not managed carefully. On one hand, sprawling megacities with dense populations might strain natural resources, increase waste, and contribute to greenhouse gas emissions on an unprecedented scale. Infrastructure might struggle to keep up, leading to slums, traffic congestion, and public health crises. The risk of environmental degradation could intensify, threatening biodiversity and the stability of ecosystems worldwide. On the other hand, India's growing emphasis on sustainable development, renewable energy, and traditional ecological knowledge offers hope for cohesion. Concepts like Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the idea that the world is one family, might inspire global cooperation on climate action and resource sharing. Urban planning could integrate smart technologies, green spaces, and community-based solutions reflecting India's experience in managing diverse populations under resource constraints. Ultimately, whether this new world faces climate chaos or achieves environmental cohesion would depend on leadership, innovation, and the collective will to balance growth with sustainability. The stakes would be high, but the opportunity to redefine humanity's relationship with the planet could be unprecedented. Imagining a world ruled by India forces us to confront a mix of possibilities, some promising, others alarming, and a few downright strange. On one hand, India's rich cultural heritage, spiritual philosophies, and vibrant diversity could inspire a global society that values community, introspection, and resilience. Technological innovation driven by necessity rather than luxury might make essential services more accessible, while the global spread of Indian art, cuisine, and traditions could enrich humanity's shared experience. On the other hand, challenges like bureaucratic inefficiency, rigid social hierarchies, and environmental strain could escalate on a planetary scale, creating frustrations and conflicts. The deep-rooted complexities of managing a vast, diverse population might lead to slower progress, unequal opportunity, and social tensions. Cultural differences and governance styles could clash with existing global norms, making adaptation difficult. Ultimately, the idea of an Indian-dominated world is neither a utopia nor a dystopia, but a complex, nuanced scenario full of contradictions. It invites us to reconsider how power, culture, and identity shape human civilization, and to imagine how different paths might lead to very different futures. Whether paradise or pandemonium, such a world would certainly be unforgettable.